Hey guys, my name is Ekapon Arkathon, and you can call me Peace. And today I will compare the interpretation of the piece by two different composers, and that I will mention later. And before I move on to that part, let's start with the background of the composers, and I will tell about the information of the composers and how unique is Chopin. So Frederick Chopin, he born in 1810 and he died in 1849. He was a Polish composer where he born in Poland, yeah, obviously, and he is a virtual pianist of the Romantic era. He was a king. I mean, he was a king of the music. So all music Chopin wrote is for the solo piano, and he is a solo pianist too. And he published his first composition at the age 7, and he was a very talented child back in that time. So he was known as an excellent piano teacher too. He was teaching at as his career, and he died. Sadly, he died on the October 17, 1849, in Paris, France. And what was unique about Chopin's compositions? I mean, he made many compositions. There are 51 mazurkas, 12 polonaises, and 17 waltz, and 19 nocturne, which you can combine up, and that reached hundreds of compositions he made. And his playing style was light, unique, delicate, and has flexibilities. And he has a very good technique that which create a lot of different layers of emotions. And he also used rubato, a lot of rubato when he plays, and that show kind of he can interpret more and more and more unique about the feelings that he want to show in his play. So the piece that I chose, that I mentioned at the first, is Waltz in A minor number 19. It's a waltz for the solo piano, and the waltz series was written sometime between 1843 and 1848, but was not published until 1860 after the Chopin's death. So about the Waltz in A minor number 19, so some argue that this Waltz in A minor number 19 was published when the Chopin was young, but some argue that Waltz in A minor number 19 was made or created by the Chopin before his death. But still, I still believe that this was made when he was young. The piece shows great sadness, while enclosing some episodes that hint at the happiness and hope. I will explain that I will interpret that at the first he interpret what feelings, and soon after he interpret what feelings. So the interpretation of the piece. So the first theme of the piece uses simple but effective melodies. He convey that this piece at the first he that convey a sad portrait, the sadness feelings with a decorative ornament used throughout. So that so at the first theme is interpret the sad feelings and getting more and more melancholies. But in the vice versa, in the second theme, is more interesting and lively, but still had a certain sadness and melancholic feelings. But about the halfway through the piece is gonna features a happy and joyful melody instead of the sad one. So this piece concludes with the main theme, followed by a short coda, the small one. So the first player that will be given here, he's a very famous Russian pianist. His name is Vladimir Ashkenazy. He born in 1937. He was an internationally recognized solo pianist, and he is a music performer and also a conductor. So Ashkenazy has many records of the wide range of pianos. So it's for both solo work and concerti. So he's quite famous and well known to the world. So the second player that I have given, his name is Grigory Sokolov. He born in 1950, and he also a Russian concert pianist. And he's among the most esteemed of the living pianists ever, and his play was internationally recognized by everyone. And he used great techniques to um, to make his play very perfect, and he widely admired as a pianist of uncompromising technical perfections and visionary interpretation that where he can interpret a lot of emotions through his play. So let's start with the passage A. I'm gonna move to the interpretation. So there's three passages: passage A, B, and C. So the passage one, I will look at the durations. So so for the passage one, I will play the Ashkenazi first. So and it's 13 second long. So let's start. Okay, before I move on to the second one, I want to interpret the first one first. So the parameter one durations for the pianist one, Vladimir Ashkenazy. So at the first you can hear that he play with the fast tempo called allegretto, which is to be played rather fast and lively. As you can hear that it's very fast and lively. So when you hear, the 30 second that I showed you before, um, for me, it kind of feel like feeling rushes. With a fast tempo, it connect with the feeling of rushes, and which can interpret that he play faster and shorter notes. So let's hear the pianist too, so we can compare with the first one. So this one is 17 second long, and let's start. Okay, let's move on. So for the pianist two, Grigory Sokolov, looking at durations, you can feel that he play with a slow tempo and more melancholic. More melancholies that can be interpreted into sadness feeling. So he play with a gentle and soft touch. With a slow tempo, it can connect to that feelings very well and connect to that where he can interpret more and more feelings. According to what I mentioned before, the first theme is about the sadness, the true melancholic feelings. So for the Grigory Sokolov, with a slow tempo and more melancholy, and that can interpret more sadness, and that kind of matches the first theme the most. With the technique of rubato, this technique enhances his play even more and more and more. So the passage B, I will play this one. I will look at the dynamics, and I will play the play by the Ashkenazi first, and it's from the 43 second to the 1 minute 2 seconds. Okay, now we let's start. So the parameter two, I'm looking at dynamics, and I will look at the pianist one before we move to the pianist two. So the Vladimir Ashkenazy play, as you can hear at the beginning, is loud at the beginning, and then if you can see through the dynamic patterns about that is, so I can tell you that it's gonna be loud at first, and then when it reaches a peak out, it starts to get softer, softer, and softer at the end. At the end, it's still soft, but it start loud, getting loud at the beginning. So with the fast and soft sound makes play even more provoking, in my opinion, where the fast and soft sound very connected. So in the second theme, I mentioned that it's about the feeling of hope and happiness. So with the fast and soft sounds, can interpret more about the happiness and hope. So with the loud sound at the beginning, that can interpret with the melancholic feelings and and start getting rid of when he play more softer, that can interpret more and more about the um, happiness and hope feelings. So, but if there's gonna be the big difference between pianist one and pianist two here, according to the parameter that I have given, which is dynamic. So I will play the second piece so you can compare by yourself too. And this one it starts from 1 minute to the 1 minute 30 seconds, which is 30 seconds long. Okay, I hope you can see that the big difference between the pianist one and pianist two. If not, I will interpret here. So the Grigory Sokolov, the big difference between that is he play really soft and the dynamic pattern also showed off, but a little bit, I mean not a little bit, a big difference between Ashkenazi and Sokolov. So he play really soft at the beginnings and start getting loud at the peak out. So in the middle, when he start tapping on his piano and that make a loud sound, and after the peak out, he start to play very soft, and very soft until the end. So I can interpret that with a slow and soft sound, can interpret more about melancholic feelings very well. So Grigory Sokolov, I can explain that he's he's more into focus about interpreting the melancholic feelings with his slow and soft sound that can, gradually and uh, that can strengthen the feelings that he tried to interpret, rather than compared to the Ashkenazi that he play very fast and soft sounds that makes his play even more about the want to interpret more about the happiness and hope. But on the other hand, Sokolov just try to interpret about the melancholic feelings rather than the happiness and the hope with the use of the slow and soft sound, and with his technique can make his the play very more emotional. So let's move to the passage C, and this one I will look at the pitch, and I will start with Ashkenazi first before we move on to the interpretation between pianist one and pianist two. So let's start. Okay. So let's move to the interpretation about the pitch of the pianist one, Vladimir Ashkenazy. And the first one is mostly play with a high pitch. And the first you can hear that he play with a high pitch and all the way through with a high pitch. So the pitch gradually goes up and down and can be clearly clarified. So it can be clearly clarified that he played throughout the piece with a high pitch and also with a fast tempo, and that can make the piece very feeling of rushes and feeling of excited happiness and hope can be interpreted to this kind of to this through his play. So there's not much difference between the pianist one and pianist two, but if you can recognize it, that's good. But I try to explain some of the point. If you can catch the difference between that, so okay, that's good. And I will play the Grigory Sokolov, the second one. I mean the part three, which starts from 1:32 to 2 minutes. So let's start. Okay, let's move to the parameter 3, pitch for the pianist 2, Grigory Sokolov. As you can hear, he play kind of little bit play with a lower pitch, and the high pitch and the softness produce the best combination, where with the high he play the high pitch, but with the softness, with the softness, he uses technique to play the high pitch with the soft touch, so that can make a very low sounds with the high pitch sounds, but still you can hear with the soft, the soft feelings that produce. It's a great combination for me, and yeah, it's probably the best combination of his play. With the high and low pitch go well with each other, and that makes the sound more flow. Uh, yeah, it kind of make the sound more flows, and that for me is the best combination of that. So in conclusion, for me, I prefer Grigory Sokolov. As I mentioned first, so this piece is about, I mean, uh, it's about the sadness and melancholic, and yeah, throughout the piece, it's about the sadness. And Sokolov fully interpreted with much feeling, and his play is very soft. He play very soft and slow that can interpret the melancholic feelings very well. And he also refined his play by using many technique called rubato, and that is quite a great technique to be used in war series. And he also offered moments of joy, peace, and great lyricism and melancholy tenderness. And he also intermingled with a great romanticism which characterized the Chopin himself. So thank you guys for listening. Have a good day. Thank you.